What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing a 3-round trades mock draft. This is going to be split up into 3 separate days, so don't worry. It's going to be round 1 today, round 2 tomorrow, and round 3 the day after that. This was supposed to come out on Tuesday. However, Todd McShay dropped his mock draft, and I gave my thoughts on it and continued it for one more round. That's why it makes my mock the mock special. So if you guys like that, feel free to check it out. It's doing great, so that is awesome, and it looks like you guys are really enjoying it. So if you guys are new, we'd love for you guys to stick around, like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun YouTube stuff. Links are down in the description for a lot of things, including the Discord. You guys need to join it. Over 220 members there, and we do stuff on there that you can't do on YouTube, like fan mock drafts. But more importantly, tape studies. Yes, I'm in finals right now. That's why I haven't done it in a hot second, but we've been doing it a couple nights a week, where I get to show you guys all 22 that I get from my sources that you can't get anywhere else. And then even if we don't have that, I still do tape studies with you guys. It's stuff that you can't do here for legal reasons, and I just want to give that to you guys because you guys deserve it. You guys are awesome, and I just want to be able to give back to you guys. Also a lot more fun for me to do tape studies with you guys there, enjoying it with me. So please join. It's awesome. I would love for you guys to join this community and that. We just breached 5,600 not too long ago, so yes. Continue the hype train, try to get 6K by the end of the year. Let's make it happen. Starting off with the number 1 pick. Now, one of y'all brought up a fun idea, which was like, oh, do a mock draft where you trade the number 1 pick. That's going to happen after the season when everything's set in stone, when we want to have some more fun ideas. I don't think that it's really a good idea at all to trade the first overall pick, not for the Texans' sake, because, I mean, again, I think Bryce Young is the best quarterback in the class. By the way, we're going to take him right here. I'll describe it in a second, but the price that's so heavy that there's nobody really in a position, especially right now, that really would try to target someone like Bryce Young. You could say that the Lions could try to do it. I don't think they go after a quarterback at all in the first, but that might be the one guy they'd be interested in, pair him back up with Jamison Williams. But, I mean, the cost of that's way too much. If there's going to be a team that trades up to one, it's probably them. But I highly doubt that that's a smart move. So, again, really tough to try to say you're going to try to trade that pick because I just certainly don't believe that's a smart move. And it's still a fun idea. We'll still try it out someday, but that day is going to be a pretty long ways out. So, Bryce Young, going to be the guy. He is the best quarterback in the class by a long shot. The issue with him is his size, his measurables, which, unfortunately, that's not really going to change very much. Even if he gets up to 195 pounds, 200 pounds, there still is a size concern, and I understand that. The weird thing is, you might say like, oh, well, Davis Mills is fine. That's awesome. If you're really worried about Bryce getting injured, you have a backup that is starter level, and that is honestly great. It's a great situation for Davis as well, because I don't know many other teams where he would start in the first place, so it's honestly a perfect scenario. You have Bryce, who has an extremely high ceiling. He's been able to raise up players around him, which you haven't seen on Alabama in a long time. A lot of real game scenarios, you've seen him lose, but he loses very well. He still brings up these guys around him, still does a 2-minute drill very well. I love that about Bryce Young. So he is by far the best quarterback in the class. You guys can see it right below my face. That is going to be my personal big board. And you guys might say, why do you have guys here? Ask me that in the Discord. Again, I'm going to be doing videos on all of this, of course, but you guys want to ask those type of questions and get more video responses where, I'm able to talk with you in real time, that's the place to do it because I've already done it with you guys. I studied Isaiah McGuire with you guys for the second time after I watched him versus Georgia, and that's where I fell in love with him. But like stuff like that. And you guys might ask, Alex, why are you not drafting purely off your board? Because I know my board's wrong. If I drafted fully off of my board, then it's going to be called a fantasy mock draft. We'll do that in the future. But also, I know that this board is also wrong. So it's a nice way to be able to blend my board, PFF's board, everybody's board, and then give you guys a nice curation of realism from it. Because, again, I want to make it my own, but I also want to give you guys something that's very realistic. I've been very accurate in the years past, so I think that, understanding team needs and being able to understand where teams would value certain players, that's going to be the best overall board because my board is my preference. Their board is their preference. Teams will have their own, so it's a nice way to just blend all three together. Give you guys the best mock draft experience overall. However, apologies to those Seattle Seahawks fans that are dying for a long explanation on this pick. I'm not going to. It's Jalen Carter all the way. Will Anderson is awesome. You take him, I'm not going to complain. But this edge class is the deepest that I've seen in the 3 years that I've been deep diving into classes. And defense interior, not so much. Jalen Carter is heads and shoulders above the next best guy. Don't look at this and see Brian Breezy and just be like, oh my God, but he's only one spot behind. He's not. I'm going to be 100% frank here. Brian Breezy's not that good. I have him much higher than where I did. I think I have him probably around the 60s right now. I had him in the 80s about a week ago. I restudied him watching the UNC game. I mean, this is the 4th time I've studied Brian Breezy. And yes, he looks pretty good. He is not in 100% of the time. Your best ability is availability. He's always injured. And before that game, he had 16 pressures all year. His buddy Tyler Davis has more pressures and, if I'm not mistaken, less pass rushing snaps. So I don't understand the love for him. He has a great frame. You do see the potential. But you need to see the consistency too. If you can't be consistent in college, I doubt that you'll be able to be consistent in the NFL. And I love the splash plays, but you need to be able to have an impact on every play, because if you give up 2 plays for every 1 play you make, you're going to end up being net negative. And that's why I don't like Brian Breezy. He'll still be drafted probably in the first round because of the fact that I do believe that he has that type of hype train, but I'm going to show you guys where it's a nice blend of where I think he should go and where people like PFF think he should go. This is a no-brainer as well. It has to be Will Anderson here. Like, I'm seeing teams like the Eagles who would potentially try to trade up here, and honestly, that wouldn't be a bad idea. The Bears can pick up an extra 2nd-round pick this way as well. Honestly, we could look at the draft chart, and if I'm not mistaken, I have this up here, so you guys probably can't see it very well. Let me try to zoom in for you guys. Honestly, I can barely see it as well, but it's a little bit out of your guys' view range. So pick number 3, we'll zoom out just a slight bit more for you. Pick number 3, his value is 514. Someone told me to use the Rich Hills value chart. Apparently it's more accurate to nowadays. Y'all, I'm going to be honest, I like the other one a lot more because it's a lot easier just to do quick maths with numbers that are not 514.33, but I digress. So the difference between these two, what is that, roughly like 50, it's like 47. If you're looking where 47 is going to be, I mean, there's no way in hell I'm going to just send a 3rd-round pick for that, especially with teams trying to move up and be able to select a QB. But I digress. We'll be featuring actually that other board right there to make sure that you guys are up to date on guys who are coming out and etc. I do think the Eagles should try to trade up here. Will Anderson's on the board. The Bears need more picks than anything. If you can move back and get Myles Murphy, I think that's perfectly fine. You guys need more. And I think the Eagles are a great option. There's no way in hell I'm going to send just the 95th pick here. I think the Bears are definitely trying to look for something a little bit more valuable. It said this will likely be accepted. I highly doubt that that's true. Again, the Eagles don't have many needs. I know you guys have guys who are up for contracts, but like this is Will Anderson we're talking about here. I think this is perfectly fine. We're going to request maybe a later round flyer back. So we're going to trade up with the Eagles here. Again, the Bears need more picks. Now you have 2 2nd-round picks as well as an early 3rd. You can use those picks to move up for guys as well. I like that flexibility. And because this is a 3-round mock, you will be able to see the implications of these trades in a lot more depth. So this is going to be Will Anderson Jr. coming out of Alabama. Again, the Bears, you need more than less, and I think that's going to be super key. So, of course, sitting here, this would have been a great spot for Will Anderson. Would have been a great spot either way, but you want to make sure Will Anderson's the guy taken because you don't want to sit here and be like, well, damn. I'm sitting here, and Will Anderson is on the board for this team. Myles Murphy's probably going to be this guy. I technically just fucked the Bears over, so I do apologize for that. But at the same time, I want to consider a trade down option here because I do think you guys want to pick up an extra 1st-round pick. And looking at it, I see the Colts here, and there are teams like the Panthers that are in striking range. They want to get a QB. Ooh, hold up now. The Panthers are in striking range. And we'll go back to the Rich Hill chart. I hate this thing with a passion. So we're at pick number 4, 490 points, and we're looking at what? Pick number 9? Yes. Pick number 9, which is 387. So what is that? That's roughly 103. So we'll just go 100. And that's roughly pick 55. That is so doable. That is so doable. You got to jump the Colts. You have to. And please say that they're in here. I'm going to cry if they are not. I don't think they are. I might just be blind, but Carolina Panthers, they need a QB. We're going to trade up for one. We're not going to get Will Levis. We're not going to go and get AR-15. We're going to move up, and we're going to trade that 56th pick right there And then we're also, let's see, where do they have a gap? 78 to 142. I hope that that's correct. It is. So 78 to 142, we're going to give this 120th pick. And of course, we might ask for something in return, like, hey, give us a round 6 in return. Get some nice value there. But we're going to make this trade happen. So they get 4th in the next year 6th. They're moving up, and they are selecting CJ Stroud. Now, this team has a lot of pieces that are very similar to Ohio State. Really good weapons all around. I know that it's not as stacked as when you had Curtis Samuel as well as DJ Moore, but you have guys like Terrace Marshall who we all love to forget. Like, it's a huge thing that people like to forget. We'll move it back here where it looks a lot better than that Rich Hill chart. But, like, this team has good usage of running backs, right? You don't need necessarily to just totally overhaul the running back core. Even though I like to do it, you guys like to point out, hey, we're still getting production out of guys like Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. So you have good enough running backs. Your offensive line is developing very well. Tackles are secured for the long run. The interior of the offensive line, I don't think is bad at all. So you have that there. You have weapons all around. That's a perfect spot for CJ to come in, and he's a good distributor of the ball. You didn't even give up a future first-round pick. And we could have done that, but I think that the Lions can honestly be able to manipulate the picks to be able to go for future firsts and stuff. I think the best value right there, because I think the Lions are in striking range, is to potentially get, extra picks. I digress. The Bears sitting here, Myles Murphy is going to be my guy. Again, I could have taken him here for the Lions, but I do know that one of these teams was going to trade back, and CJ Stroud's going to be the guy. Both teams acquired second-round picks, and I think that's perfectly worth it. So far, so good. Wanted to do some new stuff as well. I haven't had the Eagles trade up with the I do usually do that, actually. But if the Eagles can trade up with the Bears and lose a second-round pick, that's pretty much nothing. And I know that now the Panthers are in striking range. It's a lot more realistic to see a team like that move up for a QB. I digress. Pick number 6. I think I did this in my no trades mock, which you guys can check that out as well. I love Keely Ringo, and maybe you could trade back with a team that's looking for a guy like Will Levis. He's not going to go in the top 10 for me. I just don't think that Will Levis is a top 10 guy. I don't think CJ is. But CJ is probably going to be a lot more comfortable for teams because he's younger, has a lot of the measurables that Will Levis does, but he also is moldable. He has a higher ceiling than Will Levis because he has parts of his game that he has yet to unlock, like his mobility as well as processing still can be improved. I have my issues with CJ Stroud. I do. And we'll do videos on it for sure, and especially on the Discord. If you guys want to do tape study with CJ, I would love to do that with you. But I still think that this is a very good situation, and it's a lot more replicable. You know what you're probably going to get out of CJ Stroud in this offense versus Will Levis. He hasn't done it as much. And I do like Will a lot, and I would not be shocked if he ends up being better than CJ. But this is a long way of saying I'm not going to be trading up with this pick. This is going to, we have a lot of needs for the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray's out for the year, so we're going to see you guys probably up in this range. You bet your ass I'm going to trade up for Jalen Carter if I can. This is a team I could see trading up for pick 1. I do. I could totally see it. But where you are at right now, I think you just released Trayvon Mullen too. You have nothing at boundary corner. I love this idea. Christian Gonzalez, big, heavy hitter, very good in press, excellent size. This guy brings everything you want to the table. He is able to put icing on a cake. He's the type of guy where he's going to seal the game for you. He's going to get the W. So he is an absolutely amazing boundary corner. Number 10 on my big board. You guys see it right there. He is the best man-to-man corner in the entire class. If I want to see someone fail, I want to see them fail convincingly. I want them to be skin-tight coverage. I want them to be making it a pain in the ass for them to actually succeed. And he makes the receiver work their tail off to be able to win versus him. I love that. That's translatable. He's a better version of Tyson Campbell. That is my dream pick for the Cardinals. Any team that might want a heavier, press-heavy corner, that is my dream. And he can play zone as well. He's super talented. I love Christian Gonzalez. I'm putting my foot down on it. Of course, I would love for the Colts to be able to draft CJ Stroud. I love that idea. And I was thinking about doing it, but honestly, I think this is more of a wise decision for both franchises. Still, I think you could technically trade back here. Will Levis seems to be the guy. I know. I do like Will a lot. And I do think he will end up going pretty high in the draft. I do. it's what's going to happen. But let's see who's on the board still. You got Peter Skoronski. I don't think teams are going to trade up for him necessarily. I don't see any corners or tackles that are going to be driving demand. So there's nobody willing to pay the price to move up. You got to remember, yes, I would love to trade back and get Will Levis. That's a dream. Hands down, that's what I want. But right now, I'm starting to feel like there's like a top 6 or 7 with Christian Gonzalez as well as Joey Porter, because it just depends on the team, what scheme they're running. That's a pretty much like a lock top 6. You know that probably one of the corners are going to go in there, and then the rest is pretty set in stone. Now it's where the pieces fall into place. They can be rearranged in any way. Will Levis can go number 7. He can end up going number 19. It is a very wide range. It depends on how much you love him. But I saw some reps with this guy versus air, and holy shit, it is incredible. I don't want a 2-year project. Here's what you have to potentially miss out on. Let's just say we move down to pick 11, pick number 12, right? Let's just say we do it. And some team moves up, they take Quentin Johnston, Tyree Wilson, whatever. Then somehow, maybe they're like, the line's like, dude, we moved back, we're chilling, we got extra picks. Now we can select Will Levis. Now you're stuck with AR-15, and you're like, oh my God, like we're going to have to wait 2 years before we have a quarterback? That's not the Jim Irsay way. Will Levis can start right away. And I'm praying to God they find somebody who's good at developing QBs. I know y'all don't want this. I personally would go an offensive tackle. I would love to go Skoronski. I would love to go Broderick Jones. But it looks like the desperation for an actual quarterback is at such a high level that you guys are going to be willing to risk it for the biscuit. Will Levis versus air looks incredible. Like the ball flies out. It looks incredible. Go on Twitter, search it up. I have it liked on my Twitter, so you guys can check that out as well. Like, it is scary how fast this guy can throw a ball. And he has some mistakes, but you do see him versus Georgia, versus Ole Miss, 2 very high-level opponents. You saw how well he can play. And don't look at the stat sheet. That's the wussy way of doing it. Don't do that. Like, actually watch the game, and you will see him make high-level throw after high-level throw. And it reminds me a lot of what I saw at Kenny Pickett, where it's like, oh, what? Why are you throwing that? And then he makes some plays like, damn, that I can see that working in the NFL. I can see you doing that consistently in the NFL. And Kenny has not had a great start to the year, but he looks like you can tell he has the moxie to be a starting level quarterback. And Will Levis has a lot better tools than Kenny does. They're about the same age. He's a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and he has a bigger arm. So, Kenny, I think, was worth that first round pick. This is not going to be a big ass talk about Kenny Pickett, but I think the demand drive for a QB in Indy is going to force this pick. And I would love to be, again, if there were a guy on the board, if you had Myles Murphy on the board, right? You're not going to have any of these guys. Myles Murphy's the only guy I could see potentially being on the board at this time. And you see a team, let's just say the Texans want to move up. Or the Packers. Packers are dying for Myles Murphy. Then yes, move back. If you think Will Levis is going to be there, do that. That's a brilliant move. But we cannot be able to trade back if there's no one wanting to trade up for that price. So that's where we're going to go right there. Pick number 8. I think a corner is a good option here. Tyree Wilson's a fun option. This edge class is super deep. I don't think you need to force anything. So personally, don't really necessarily think that that's a necessity for you. Again, you can get that in the second round. You can get it in the third round. You'll be fine. Corner, again, is super duper high need, super duper low quantity later on. Like, I'm seeing immediately in the second round, I'm losing out, and I'm drafting Devon Witherspoon, Tyree Stevenson. I am not comfortable. Like, most of these guys are actually returning too. It's a very thin corner class after the first 2 rounds. And the thing is, this class is loaded at the top. You have to take them early. You have to take them often. And I see guys like Keely Ringo. If you are willing to put up with him, like, allowing a lot of 5-yard receptions, you're going to see him be Trevon Diggs-esque at picking off those balls deep. And you're not going to beat him deep. He's, I believe, tested in the 4.2s. He has a great size at 6'2", over 200 pounds. This guy is built to be a big play corner. And honestly, if you guys are going to get beat, you might as well win in style too, right? You might as well be at least beaten in style, win in style. That is Keely Ringo. To me, you cannot let him fall any further. I would have taken him here at pick number 9. But regardless, you guys are going to see that I have a very big tendency to go corners early and often because I thoroughly do not believe in the depth of the corners in this class. But at pick number 9, now I would love to go maybe after Quentin Johnson here, but I think you can be able to re-sign DJ Chark, and you guys look really good with him like that. Now there's 2 positions I want to look at. There's 2 guys, Tyree Wilson and then Joey Porter. I think both are phenomenal, but I know that an edge rusher is going to be perfectly fine for us here at 15. You know what I don't think is going to be there? A corner. I think I'd much rather take the risk. I love how you guys can see my mouse over here. I'm actually highlighted over the board. But I think at pick number 13, the Steelers are nabbing Joey Porter if they can. He's not going to be there. But a really good edge will be there at 15. So I'm going to do it. We're going to go after corner here. My number 3 player in the draft, you guys see it, Joey Porter Jr. He's definitely somebody who is one of my dream picks. I would have taken him there at the first pick. Like, I would have taken him right here at number 4. I would not be ashamed of taking him at number 4. Elite player. Honestly, I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame corner. If he's in the right system, he's going to be a Hall of Fame corner. He can go toe-to-toe versus Marvin Harrison. Maybe get a little DPI in there, but we see that from the top corners nowadays. But he can win. And I think, especially if you guys can start using him more in zone, this guy is going to be arguably the best corner in the NFL. I will put my heart down on it. I had Sauce Gardner as my number 1 player in the draft last year, and I was looking to be pretty damn accurate. I'm putting my stake down on Joey Porter if he goes to the right system. Hands down, this guy might be the best corner. He and Sauce Gardner might be like trying to share that title. And then I love Tariq Woolen too, so pretty happy with my corner evals so far. Pick number 10. So if you're sitting at this spot, there's a lot of really good dudes on the board. I would thoroughly be interested in moving down. You could even end up with like Trent Simpson, Tyree Wilson. Like, there's going to be some dude who's here. So I'm at least fielding offers. And there's guys like Peter Skoronski here that I think would be great additions to certain teams. The teams I'm thinking of are the Steelers and the Packers that could want him. And they're just a little too far out, or they're a little bit too close to where I know we're going to get someone that we want. So I don't think that there's enough people trying to vie for this pick here. Now, to be fair though, hold up. Honestly, I think that the Texans might want to move up here. You know, there's Quentin Johnson on the board, and I know that your in-division rival, the Jaguars, you don't really need him because of Calvin Ridley, but you still might want to play defense and get a true X wide receiver guaranteed over your own in-division rival. This is a small trade down. But why would the Panthers be trying to move up here? So weird. I swear, some of these suggestions are crazy. But I think this is a perfect spot for the Houston Texans to move up. And we'll use the Rich Hill chart again. Honestly, this is like really irritating me. So I apologize if you guys can't see this very well. Pick number 10 is 369. Nice. And pick number 12 is 346. So there you go. Quick math, roughly like 13, 12 and a half. So 12 and a half. I mean, we're talking about that. Dude, why do people use this chart? This is like low-key a bum chart. We're going to trade it for a pick number like 96. I think that's fair. I think it's fair. We'll ask for, we don't need a pick this year in return. We'll ask for Cleveland's 6th round pick next year because we gave more value than we were supposed to. We're going to force the trade. Houston ends up getting their value. And then Houston, you're going to go Quentin Johnston here. Now you take him away from the Jaguars and you have a true number 1 wide receiver. I think that's a very nice soft spot to be able to just relax, kick back, and be able to say, you know what? We don't have to face him and we have him. That's a very good place to be. You're helping Bryce Young by getting another big wide receiver. This is a good way. I think if you guys end up playing it like this, you guys make the playoffs. I genuinely believe you can win your division from worst to first. I don't believe that's out of the question. Pick number 11. So, again, I'm a huge fan of going corner here. Cam Smith definitely feels like a dude who I'd be very intrigued with. I would be willing to move down, though, before doing that because I don't want to get the 4th corner here at pick 11. That's, again, not my style. But there are really good players on the board. We don't see very much movement in this zone anyway, but I thoroughly believe, you even look at my board, we still have guys. Isaiah McGuire's not going to go. in the first unless it's late first. That's just not going to happen. But, I mean, you look at it, there's not many guys who are desperate to move up for an offensive lineman. Now, you could see the Northwestern connection here. The Chargers try to move up for one. I can't. I can't force Peter Skoronski to be a pick here. So as much as I want to move back, I don't really see anybody trying to poach a player. Ooh, there's one. There's one thing I think that could happen. Tyree Wilson's on the board, and I think he needs to go. I don't think Cam Smith is going to be a pick. Well, Cam Smith might be this pick, but then I know I can just go Brian Branch somewhere else. So I'm going to move up with the Packers. The Packers are going to move up here. I think that's a very smart move by the Green Bay Packers. You're going to end up going for Tyree Wilson, who is a huge fit. That's exactly what you guys are looking for. Also, screw this Rich Hill chart. I think it's roughly worth like a late third round pick. That's pretty fair to assume that. So we're going to send that to the Jaguars. You guys are looking for more quantity picks anyways. A trade was accepted. The Packers are moving up for Tyree Wilson, one of the guys who probably would have been there at pick 12. So now we have already traded back. We're chilling, and we can go wherever we want. And what I really want to do with this pick is not go after the deeper corners. I want to go after the best linebacker in the class. Now, you got rid of Deion Jones. This is going to be your Deion Jones. You have Troy Anderson. Now you have Trent Simpson. I think Bijan Robinson is a good option here as well. However, I want to go with the number one guy in the class where there's a huge drop-off after him. Trent Simpson seems to be that type of dude. And, yeah, he's a very, very talented linebacker. I'm a big fan of him. Let's see. Yeah, he's the sole linebacker there for me at number 24 on my board. Pick number 13 for the Steelers. This feels like a lock. Again, you guys might say, Peter Skoronski has short arms. He has 32-inch arms. He might be a guard. Honestly, I don't care. The Steelers need something good on the offensive line. I think he can play guard. I think he can play tackle. I thoroughly believe he can be a tackle at the next level. Now, will he potentially be out-lengthed by Myles Garrett? I think everybody will be. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have Peter Skoronski play tackle. And I think he's going to be an instant upgrade. In the long run, you see somebody who's a better tackle. Maybe you draft a late-round dude. He develops well. Peter Skoronski is going to be a baller at guard. So you have someone who has versatility. You have somebody where you know he's going to be on your team for 10 to 15 years. He's gritty. He's used to the North. I think it's my dream fit for the Steelers. So Peter Skoronski it is. Pick 14. So, oh, man. We thinned it out a little bit, but Cam Smith is such a good fit for this team. He is. Like, he's perfect for a boundary corner. I think you could look maybe at some other positions. Like, even Michael Mayer wouldn't be a bad option. Like, you saw how much Evan Ingram was to this offense in the past week. Like, you definitely know that a tight end would be a very nice option for, Trevor Lawrence's future. But I don't think you need to force it. I don't. You got Evan Ingram balling out. Like, why do you need to lose your first-round pick on this? Cam Smith, he fits perfectly. He's somebody, now you trade back, you've got some extra draft capital as well. Now you can sit back, you can take a deep breath. You have somebody besides Tyson Campbell there for the long run. He also fits. He also feels very similar to Tyson Campbell. Definitely somebody where when the All-22 comes out on Cam Smith, going to be one of the first guys I re-review because I was a little bit lower on him, but the game tape shows that he's played a lot better this year. So big fan of Cam Smith. Overall, I think it's the best value for the pick. Pick number 15. We already won a DB. Otherwise, I'd be pulling the trigger on Brian Branch right now. Just right now. I would do it. You could, if you want to, go AR-15 here. I don't think you need to. Jared Goff is playing so well, and he's on a contract for, I believe, another 2 years. Might take a team-friendly deal, and you can continue building around him. Remember, he's been to a Super Bowl with a good team around him. I think you can do the exact same here. And he's in rhythm. Your OC, I totally have not given him enough credit. He's been doing an amazing job. For me, I don't think you need to force anything here. And other positions you could definitely try to get are edge rushers, defensive interior. Now, I don't think it would be the end of the world to get Brian Bryce here. It's a good guy to take a swing on. But I'm not going to. I think there's guys like Tyler Davis later on. That would be a pretty good option as well. But I don't think anybody's as good as Jared Verse. Jared Verse might be the best player in the class, and I just might not. I have been able to I've seen it, but I just haven't exactly brought my mentality to the point where I'm willing to do something like that. That being said, I have put Isaiah McGuire as my number 2 player, so I do have a slight bit of insanity. But Jared Verse seems to be such a great fit. You do run a 4-3-3-4 hybrid, and I think Jared Verse, honestly, he is 250 now, so you can technically play both 5-tech as well as an outside linebacker. So I'm super happy with him. He could be the best player in the class. Now you have Joey Porter and Jared Verse. Pretty much, like, I think I would take that over Will Anderson as well as Will Anderson and let's just say Brian Branch. I would take it over that. So I'm very happy with how it felt for the Detroit Lions. I think that this is probably your best way to success. Bijan, I'm going to try to get a little bit higher here. Not at this pick, but if the Chargers are sitting here, Jordan Addison has to at least be high on your priority list. I don't like taking him every single time for you guys, and that's why I've changed it up over the past few. And Anthony Richardson's on the board. I do think teams that are looking for a developmental QB should at least be interested in moving up for him. Again, Bijan's on the board. I do think teams that are looking for an identity should definitely be trying to move up for him. But it's a weird spot. The only guy who I really see teams moving up for is AR because I know he's gone by pick 19. I know that for a fact. But I don't know if I really want to move up with the Giants. I know the Giants have a lot of needs. And we'll go back to the Rich Hill chart. Again, I'm doing this because y'all forced me to. Y'all like put me against a corner. So pick number 16. We're looking at it, 305 points. And I think they are pick number 23. Let's scroll down. Let's see. Of course. Now we have to scroll down here. Pick number 23. So 23 is 244 up to 305, roughly like 60-ish, right? 60 points. That's going to be worth pick 76 or higher. Let's try it out. Because I do think that that's it's a realistic move, right? You definitely want to move up to be able to secure your QB of the future. I think we are starting to see that the cap is limited. I mean, like the sky is not the limit for the Giants right now. And you do have pick number 86. I think that's fair. The Chargers, we have there's just some guys who are much better suited for pick number 23 than pick number 16. I want to show something that's very realistic, and moving back definitely feels like something they could do at this spot. So we're going to do 86, just a third round pick to move up here. Maybe should have spent more, but it's not going to affect this mock draft. I'm not going to send a second for it. And this is going to be Anthony Richardson. People are going to fall in love with the tools. 6'4". Also, pick number 17 probably would have been Anthony Richardson. So 6'4", 236 pounds, strongest arm in the class. Definitely somebody who's going to be a multi-year project. But if there's one person I believe will make it work, it is Brian Daboll. And I'm going to go 10 out of 10 times. If he's available, I'm going to take Anthony Richardson for Brian Daboll. That is how you're going to elevate your ceiling. Then you have super athletes again. You have that mobility that's similar to Daniel Jones. And then you also have Saquon there. So I think it's incredible. I think it's an incredible move for the franchise. Pick number 17 for the Seattle Seahawks. Brian Branch, I've already seen a lot of love for it, and I'm a huge fan of that move. However, I think edge rusher should probably be the focus at this point. I don't really see anybody being that crazy about these guys where I can't move back and get them later. So Bijan's on the board. Same thing with Jordan Addison. I don't think Jordan Addison's out of the question. Linebacker is not good enough value right now, and I'm not going interior offensive line. There's also some really good tackles on the board. But Bijan's on the board. I know a team needs to move up for Bijan. I know they do. Bijan needs to be taken. I just don't see any of these teams taking Bijan. Defensive interior is a need. I do know that Brian Bryce is a very attractive option for a lot of teams, and a lot of teams are looking for a defensive interior. Of course, we got Jalen Carter. That's the best part. We're going to go an edge rusher here. We are. We're going to stick to it. BJ Ojolari is going to probably have a pretty big hype up in the offseason because he's a super athlete, and he has some crazy good production as well. So we're going to go BJ Ojolari here to be able to play on the outside. I think that's going to be the best scheme fit as well. Someone who I like to go in the early second usually, but want to change it up a little bit, want to show some representation for some very good players. We're going to get off the Rich Hill chart because we all know that looks absolutely atrocious. So we're just going down a little bit more so you guys get to see more of my board. Pick number 19. Pick number 18. My bad. This is going to be an offensive tackle. Y'all just know exactly what I'm going to do here. But I like the versatility of Paris Johnson. I like Broderick Jones more. But maybe you find a better tackle in another class. Maybe Olu Fashanu is available for you in the future years. I like the idea that I've already seen Paris play right guard. I know that injuries happen a lot. So I think that Paris Johnson probably is going to get drafted very high as well. It's a good spot to start building up your franchise. So this one, we're going back to the true OG pick. This is Bijan Robinson. Going to be the true identity of the Buccaneers. Brady's probably going to be gone, so I think that's a nice spot for him to sit back and relax. Pick number 20, this is going to be Jordan Addison. I'm not going to think twice about it. You guys need a lot of things to go your way, but getting a nice elite weapon there in Jordan Addison definitely feels very good. He's ranked very highly on my board. If I'm not mistaken, he might be like number 12 on my board. He's number 13. So I'm a big fan of him. He's an incredible athlete, and he makes football look easy. Size is a bit of a concern, but I have full faith that he's going to be able to kick some ass at the next level. So pick number 22. Just kidding, 21. Did that again for the Patriots. This feels like a Bill Belichick thing to do, but to trade back. Like, I don't really see anything that's super exciting to me right now except Broderick Jones, but I also know that we can be able to draft another tackle. To be fair, I could see 1, 2, 3 tackles going. So we're going to go offensive tackle here. We're going to stick with Broderick Jones. Offensive line with Isaiah Wynn, not exactly solidified for the future. Building through the trenches, winning through the trenches, that's the way you're going to win. So pick number 22 for Washington. I've done this a couple times, but corner needs to be the priority here. They have a zone-heavier scheme, so I'm going to go Jalen Jones. I'm sorry, it's a little bit cliche of me to go Jalen Jones all these times, and so I do want to send my personal apology for that one because my poor Washington fans have not had very much new guys to be able to be excited about. Pretty much been corner most of the year through or offensive line. Pick number 23. Now, what's going to move the needle the most? That's the thing you got to ask. Brian Breezy definitely at least should be in the equation, right? Defensive interior, kind of been a thing for a while that you guys are trying to solve. DB, probably there. So I don't think tight end necessarily is going to make things crazy. I like Gerald Everett. I personally think he's a very good tight end. I don't think that Michael Mayer is going to be that significant of an upgrade. But I do think Brian Branch would be. I think Brian Breezy would be. And you traded back, you got extra picks. Let's be happy and get a nice defensive interior with a high upside. Brian Breezy out of Clemson. Health is a big concern. It's not out of the question for him to be there. Pick 24, this is going to be an offensive tackle. Been going with it for a long time. Anton Harrison is left and right tackle versatility. I think that's perfect for a team that's trying to at least build itself up as something that's very reliable. That way you can help rely on the run game and then still protect Russ, and hopefully he'll find a year which he can finally cook once again. Pick 25 for the Ravens. Wide receiver and DB are the two positions I'm trying to target here. Jackson Smith and Jigba would be a very good option for this team. But I want the biggest bang for my buck, and this is a team where I think Brian Branch is going to flourish on. Hyper athlete, can play boundary corner or slot or safety. If he's going to work, it's going to be here. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Pick number 26 for the Bengals. Again, this team, I would love Antonio Johnson for this team. To change it up a little bit, we might do that. Michael Mayer, though, T. Higgins might be gone in the very near future just because he's going to want some nice cash. And it's kind of hard to pay your second best wide receiver that type of cash, right? You might want to get a receiving weapon like Michael Mayer to be able to take off that type of pressure. Antonio Johnson, I would love for him to be on the squad, but we're going to go Michael Mayer. He's going to be drafted in the first. It's one of the few teams I could definitely see that happening. Pick number 27 for the Cowboys. Now, Jackson Smith and Jigba is my number one option here, and I think that's where I'm going to go. T.Y. Hilton was just brought on. I think you could go Josh Downs if you trade back, but at the same time, you are opening up yourself to potentially letting the Vikings get someone like Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's something that would scare me quite a bit. The Bills potentially getting Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. So that is exactly what we are going to do. Pick number 28 for the Chiefs. Offensive line is still my concern at offensive tackle. I love getting Darnell Wright because he's a versatile left and right tackle. To me, you kind of need help at both. He'll be able to solve whatever hole that you need. I think that's the best value. Again, not a very deep tackle class with a couple of them, including my boy Javon Foster, hinted at returning. Pick number 29 for the Vikings. Now, I'll show you guys who's still on the board. My number 2 player still is, again, don't think that he's going to be necessarily a first-round pick, even if he performs well at the Senior Bowl. Just not enough hype on him. But it could happen. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, so we got my 14th best player on the board, still here. And Antonio Johnson. Those are like my top 3. Now, I think wide receiver could certainly be in the position. Josh Downs would be a good option for this team. I'm a big fan of going wide receiver. I know your defense could still use some help. Corner definitely would be something I love. And Tyree Stevenson is someone who I used to draft from the first. Could still be one of those guys who do. Like, could definitely still be one. And Clark Phillips would be awesome. He's a little bit too slender for me at 5'10". He's a little bit too short for me to say he can guarantee be on the outside. And for me, that's a little bit of a concern. I don't really want to deal with Clark Phillips potentially being a slot-only guy if he's going to be my first-round pick. So sitting here, you could go Antonio Johnson and say, hey, we got a slot corner / safety who could play potentially boundary corner, and we're chilling. We're happy. Not going to do that. I do want to go wide receiver, but I'm also looking at the next two teams, and I'm pretty happy with how that's going. I don't know if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to be re-signed, just based on the fact that he hasn't already. It's a little bit weird, but I'm feeling like the Eagles could honestly make a move up here, a very small move up for Antonio Johnson. I've never done this before, so I want to see how you guys react to it. So again, love your guys' feedback. Don't be a dick about it. Y'all know the rules. But Eagles already traded away their second-round pick. Howie's going to be a bit aggressive because you guys are so close. And I don't want to trade any of these picks away, and honestly, the Vikings have enough. So I feel like a future third is more than requisite to get this done. So I'm going to ask for a future fifth in return as well. Therefore, we don't lose the quantity of picks, just the quality. And I think that's a fair swap. So the Eagles are moving up, and they're getting a very experienced defensive back. I don't see any corners on the board that are necessarily going to fill the void that we need to fill, especially on this team. Eli Rixwood, I think he's going to return. For this, we're going to say he's returning. So for me, I'm going to go Antonio Johnson here. He can play the slot, he can play the safety, he can play even boundary if you need him to, but he's the most versatile player that's left on the board. Someone who I'm desperate to bring onto this roster, and he's new. He's a new face for the team, so excited to see that happen. Pick number 34, the Bills. They stayed in place, and honestly, you could go Josh Downs here. That wouldn't be an awful choice because you just brought in Cole Beasley. Definitely feels very Cole Beasley-esque. Positions I like to go, safety. Already took the two guys who I'd probably take for that. Offensive line, I've heard right tackle is a concern. I don't see any right tackles really worth it right now. And from what I hear, Javon Foster's gone. Robert Scott, he's gone. Not taking those guys in the first anymore, but it is what it is. You could go Cyrus Torrance here. You could go boundary corner. You could go a linebacker, Drew Sanders. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but it's a weird spot to be. It's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to be in this spot, for sure. So looking at the guys who are available, Drew Sanders is catching my eye as a guy maybe some teams are going to try to move up for because he's a very good linebacker. Andre Carter certainly deserves some love here, but honestly, let me know what you think of this, Bills fans. Not mistaken, you do have some issues at linebacker in terms of contracts. I think Drew Sanders might be a good option for you. I haven't done it yet, but I do think that's the best case scenario given what happened here on the board. Like, there's just nothing that's good, and there's nobody good enough to move up for. So we're going to go Drew Sanders here. Going to get your best bang for your buck. He's very good overall as a linebacker, and definitely just somebody who's going to make your team just a little bit more consistent. I'm going to assume Blake Corum returns for this draft as well. Otherwise, that would have been my pick number 30 because I think he wants a UMW, and he's going to be going back with his QB in a very stacked running back class. Pick number 31, ending off the first round, this is going to be Josh Downs, an elite level slot wide receiver, kind of what you want out of Jalen Reagor. I feel like he is so dynamic as an athlete, so I would not be surprised if he ends up being a true first round pick. This is a guy who I want to show a little bit more love to because he doesn't get it on my board. But that is going to be the video. Stay tuned for round 2. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.